welcome everyone. It's Monday, October the 18th, 2021. This is Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show, and I have the privilege and honor to have my co-host, one of my two co-hosts, Tony Finn, in the house here. How was your weekend, Tony?
It was. I picked up a little bit both days, Saturday, Sunday. I experienced another a week before, 2 weeks ago, or two Saturdays ago. I took a couple of my losses. I lost them in the last 30 seconds of the game. They weren't insignificant. Had they been insignificant, it's a little different. But one of them was I had Texas, and they led for as much as 21. They led by and then
that was miserable.
And I thought I was still going to win it because I thought, well, OU's going to come down here and kick the field goal. Well, Texas decided not to tackle, and the end zone went, and they win by 7. Well, yesterday or Saturday, I really liked the way the Bulldogs are playing Georgia, and I thought Kentucky was overmatched and they could keep pace offensively. Right. In truth, they didn't. But what did Stoops do? Call timeout with 7 seconds left, from the 1 yard line to run that in. Now I don't begrudge him for that, because if I'm a coach and I have boosters who are betting on my team, then I'm going to do everything I can to cover that number. And it was one of those where I had, it's one of those deals you cover for the whole fourth quarter, and you didn't do enough to add on. And I don't think Georgia's not in a situation. Well, I could compare them to maybe a Cincinnati. They're not in a situation where they have to impress with style points.
Right.
They're the number one team, and they're going to be there. And if they don't lose, they're the number one team, because they're defensively they are ridiculously elite. They have grown on that defensive line. Guys like what's his name, John I can't. It's horrible to escape me, but long story short, 6'6", 370-pound nose tackle. Yeah.
They actually have one of the
can
best.
Probably outrun me.
And that's not an embarrassment.
Well,
unless he's chasing you.
It would be an embarrassment if I was younger. My age. No, it's not. Because if I'm not outrunning a man who's the size of a sycamore tree, then something's wrong.
Well, I can tell you, I ran. This is where yards per point measures start to matter a lot in my work, and I have to look it up in the database. But right now, Georgia's defense is over 30 yards per point, which means it takes an opponent 30 yards of offense to average just 1 point on the scoreboard.
Right,
and that is an amazing number. And
which is about 10 points a game.
6.6 is their scoring average this year.
I mean, normally a team that's playing in a competitive conference, if they're at 350 yards, that's you get to 400, 500 yards, then you're talking more about a Heupel or a the Heupel spread, or the Heupel offense he runs, or an air raid that maybe Mississippi State runs. So absolutely.
And that defense you're talking about has probably 3 potential first rounders in Devontae Wyatt.
Yep.
I think he's the guy you're talking about. Devontae Wyatt. No? All right.
Nope.
Let's try Christopher Smith. No, he's a strong safety.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis is it. That's who he is. And not only that, he is if you have a chance and listen to, Jordan Davis typically is one of the guys who will at pressers, post-game pressers, actually will get to the point. He will talk. He's an articulate, sharp guy that is a giant and is probably about mid-first round a millionaire. He just hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, and I think Adam Anderson, the senior, he's the Sam linebacker. In other words, outside linebacker.
I think last year they had Georgia had 8 in the first in the draft. They had 8 guys taken into the NFL. And they're projecting. I think, to top that this year. So Georgia is like Alabama. They as the king of the Ottoman Empire, which is the SEC, would say, I recruit grown men.
Yeah. Well, They have a pretty big left tackle too, and Jamari Salyer.
Yeah,
and he's a senior, and another guy that's 6'3" and 340, and just has incredible footwork, and
right.
Nobody touches the quarterback. The guy is just incredibly good.
And there's the issue. The quarterback for Georgia, who is not even JT Daniels, is the backup. That's been doing this fine work for the offense. This kid is a dual threat. He's a Josh Allen kind of a guy that's got 6'4", 6'5", 230, got speed and big with speed, maybe bigger than that. Now, I'm just talking off the top of my head or from the hip, but he projects out to be about 4,500, 5,000 all-purpose yards and 50 touchdowns on the ground and through the air, which is playing for Georgia. It's almost, let me tell you something, Pickett for Pittsburgh has been, and long story short is he's pretty good. He's a pretty good quarterback. All these guys are all pretty good quarterbacks. The kid from Ole Miss, I'm trying to think. It's horrible with names today. Since I've turned a day older. Long story short is that he's 2-1. I think he's 2-1. I just did the bad thing is I just did a profile on him and did some interviews with some people and talked about him. But long story short is that the kid from Pittsburgh, really has numbers that are almost equal. The problem is he plays for Pittsburgh, and he doesn't play. And Pittsburgh is not, it's not Georgia. Yeah. It's not Alabama. It's not Florida. It's not LSU. So the rest of the field is going to have to slide, and it's already slid to some degree. I mean, Bryce, Saban's young freshman quarterback, he's still the favorite. However, everyone I talked to said that loss to Texas A&M, believe it or not, even though he wasn't bad, it's almost like you don't want to call it a nail in the coffin, but it's a dent in the new car. So yeah. I had a losing. No matter what happens tonight, I had my first NFL losing week. I mean, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's not the end of the world. But in hindsight, why the F was I on the Giants? Well, I would
what
say
in the world were my models and my fundamental research telling me? Like that?
Well, that's one of the reasons I don't. One of the reasons I don't use lose things, as I told you, I trip handicaps so much. See, so much of mine is I trip handicap, and it most of my variables are matchups, not just team against team. They're this receiver against cornerbacks, top cornerbacks, et cetera, et cetera. Tonight, for instance, Buffalo's the better team, but Tennessee returns some receivers, one of them being possibly Julio Jones, possibly a Hall of Famer. It's never know. But Julio Jones returns, and Buffalo has not. They've not had to tangle with a running back that has the size and the capabilities of controlling, essentially allowing that offense to control a game like Derrick Henry. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, and I probably if I was on the game, I probably would be on that home Monday Night Football dog getting 6.5 probably, but I'm not. I'm not on it. The total's fairly large, 53.5 is a pretty big number. So.
You would expect some volatilities, I call it, with the scoring, so we could have.
Well, either that, or you see with Derrick Henry getting 200 yards and taking up 9 minutes of two long 11-play drives, which will absolutely make you want to shoot yourself if you got an over 53.
Yeah, I think the play would be to. For example, if Tennessee scores 10 or 13 points, 14 points, and there's no answer, that probably will bring the total down in that 46.5 range. If this happens, say it's 10-0 at the end of the first quarter, you're gonna be looking at like 44.5, and that's probably a great place to get on board.
It is. And
I mean, look at yesterday's Dallas game. Now, I was fortunate as shit on that game. Yeah, I might have been a little unlucky on the other ones, but
Yeah,
My goodness gracious, I'm playing over 50.5 for my clients, right? And they're probably thinking, what? No, he picked the Giants and now he's picking this?
Yeah. Well,
right?
the Giants, since the Giants have a problem, they have some issues. Here's their biggest issue, John, in my opinion, is Judge, is their coach.
I can't agree more. I can't agree more.
What he was doing yesterday with a guy who just was concussed, taking his quarterback and making him do quarterback sneaks. And quarterback sneaks in the NFL, if you're concussed, let me tell you right now, that is not the path to be taking. It's not the path to be putting players in.
With all due respect to some of the Hall of Famers, this is not your Bart Starr quarterback sneak anymore either. I mean, there's a lot of pulling and scraping and.
Yesterday when he did it, a couple of defenders
eye poking.
Listen, you can go helmet to you're running back. You can go helmet to helmet, and that's exactly what they did. Yep. They lowered the crown and started pounding him. Yeah. So.
But you're right. Tennessee won't have to abandon their game plan of establishing the run either, even if they're the ones that get down 10-0.
They don't. So, that's the problem I see with this one is that when you're in game, if it is 10-0, 14-0 first quarter. Then what I see then you may be right. You might be able to push. You might be able to push in on a 44, 45, 46, something like that. But then my fear is that Buffalo all of a sudden says, you know what, we're going to start slinging the ball around the field. And next thing you know, it's 24-14 at halftime, and you're saying, well, let me see, can I go over now? Maybe. Oh no, I got a Polish middle. No, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Or what I call
that scenario, you'd probably see. You probably would see 60 points at 38 at halftime. You'd probably see 62.5, I'm guessing. So that would be a great trade.
I'm using the example because it's happened to me many times. We're in-game lives. And I'm one of those, when I'm giving advice on in-game lives, and I do a lot of in-game lives during the NBA season, it's almost that time of year where every night I'll be at my desk, and from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 9, I'm looking for those 10-point middles in the NBA. The totals are so volatile that it's inevitable. I'll get them. I'll get a couple, and that's what I do. I like doing them because it doesn't always middle. Sometimes but I get a 10-point middle. I'm going to take it. I'll take that 20-1, and it may not be in game live. It's not quite 21 because it's not 21 sometimes because it's more than $1. It's more than 10 cents juice in game live. A lot of times you're going 20 cents, so you're just going to do that.
I'm definitely playing both games tomorrow night that way, and I like. Obviously, there's two ways that I do it, and you know what they are. But for those that are listening that don't, one is working for the total and the side. So let's say tomorrow night you have the Lakers and Golden State, and you like Golden State. Let's say the Lakers come out of the chute, smoking,
right,
and they rip off 10 or more in a row with no answer from Golden State. You jump then 25% of your normal bet size on Golden State.
And
if you like
I wouldn't. I'll tell you why I wouldn't. Only Lakers are one of those teams that we have to see more of them this year. But they're the one team that if they get a 10 or 15-point lead, they know how. See the King and Davis and that group, Westbrook. They know how to play with the lead. Listen.
That's what Westbrook brings to the team now.
Yeah, I hate when they get a lead like because if I'm on a total, for instance, with the Lakers, and they get that lead, I know I'm doomed because what they'll do is they'll play at their pace, and LeBron comes up the top of the key, dribbles the ball for about 10 seconds, and then he either gets an open look at the three, or he's going to the rim, and listen, there is no bet even at his age. He's the best transition in transition. He's the best in transition of any player in the NBA because of his size, his speed still, and his savvy. If he doesn't think he's going to make he always can draw a foul. Always a smart player, and he's probably got another 4 or 5 years of doing this. Eventually, he won't be that point guy that drives me crazy, John. I mean, that type of an offense I think is obsolete in the NBA now. You have to be able – the one thing the Lakers don't do well is they don't shoot the three very well. Now, they've made some changes, but it's certainly not Westbrook because Westbrook may be the worst three-point shooter he may be the worst three-point shooter that makes $40 million a year. There you go.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But he gets paid $40 million because he does other things, I guess.
Well,
like triple doubles and
he has
pretty good distributor of the ball.
He puts a show on. Listen, he's a show. He's a guy who wants attention. This right now he's going through that. Not him, but Kyrie Irving. Him and Kyrie kind of the same kind of a personality. I think they really like attention. That's part of the reason why they do what they do. And Kyrie's, I don't think it's this deal with the vax with Kyrie is more about the mandate than it is the vax, and he doesn't like to be told what to do.
I think you're right there too. Yeah. I really do. The one team that is on my radar for this year, and I think Rob Vino mentioned them as well, is the Chicago Bulls.
Over?
They look, over wins total. I think they look sneaky good.
Here's what I would do with the Chicago. If you believe the Chicago, in my opinion, I was going to do a video of this, one of those videos I do for free picks and stuff, John, and I was going to do one on two teams. One of them was on Chicago. In the East, I think, what I try to do with these futures, and the Chicago was 75 or 80 to 1 to win the NBA championship, okay? And I honestly don't think they are going to, but they could. Some things happen, or it does
trade
happen.
Deadlines
But mostly what I'm looking for that one is I need a top 8 team who's going to be in the playoffs, in a playing game, even the playing game. If they get into the playoffs, at that point in time, that 81 drops all the way down to 20 to 1 and 20 to 31 range, and you have the ability to hedge, and you can do so many different things with that big 80 to 1, 75 to 1. At that point, they don't have to win it. It's free money, however you want. You can do it in many ways.
And I love that idea. I'm glad you brought that up because you cannot do that with the Lakers or Brooklyn. That Brooklyn can win 10 in a row, and those odds will go. Maybe they won't even change.
No,
but if the Bulls win 10 in a row,
they're already 3 to 1. The Lakers, I think, 2.5.
It's insane.
No. Yeah, you have to find maybe. Listen, I like Utah in the West I think they're 18 to 1, which I think is a. If you think they can replicate, rinse and repeat what they did last year, then that's a pretty good number.
Yep, I agree. And I think there's been a lot of talk about DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Caruso.
Yeah. Well, that's Chicago.
Caruso with Levine playing together. I think they augment each other. I don't think they're going to.
Well, we'll see what kind of adjustments.
They both need the ball to score, right? They're the type of player who has to go off the dribble.
Oh,
but can't you have two guys on the court that can do that?
Yeah, here's the deal with Chicago. And I'll tell you right now, Vukovic, all those trades they made at the end of last season, and the players they picked up in free agency, they are an intriguing team without question. However, I want to see when the adjustment's going to be made because, this first couple weeks, first month for that matter, Vino and I will be on here talking about adjustments. We'll be talking about adjustments. We'll talk about them for hours because this Chicago team can score points, and Dallas is giving up this. They've given up. If you go back 2 years, they had one of the highest points per minute or points per possession numbers in the history of the game. And last year, they decided, we want to play. They trade away Curry to Philly, and they tried to go more defensive. That was the biggest mistake was getting rid of Curry because. After Doncic, if he was on the bench, they had no scoring from the perimeter, which Curry brought. But long story short, what I'm trying to get to is Chicago. I'm looking at their numbers right now. I'm looking at Chicago, Detroit. This is a pretty big number for Detroit, but I still think it's 219 and a half, 220. You see, that's a total with the Chicago team. We got to steal a little bit, but I would be over the total in this. Right on pre-flop, I'm over the total because. If Chicago and Detroit, they come out like you're saying in games, and they put up if they put a 70 up in the first quarter, that 220 goes to 240.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
And that's where then I got my 20-point middle. Then I'm coming under the 240. I've already got a pre-flop at over the 220, and I only have to look. And that's the way I approach those low totals. I'll pre-flop them, and then I go in game live and look to leverage my pre-flop.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's really we're going to be talking about this like every single day.
We will be. And
if you like the over,
right. Yeah.
Doing 50% pre-flop, like you said, and then what you really want to have happen is for the pace of play to be slower than what is the market expected. The market then adjusting game down to that.
Yes.
Like, what did you say, 224? And then you look to pick it up at like 212, 214, another 25%.
Yeah.
And then you get the rally.
However, here's the key. And that is, I've told people all the time, if you do it like I do it, I strongly advise if you're getting to the point where, listen, it's halftime, maybe, and you're so far off how you saw the game playing out, you just wave the white flag and you move on to the other game. Do not chase that number, because what will happen is you'll get yourself in a trap. Get yourself in a trap where you're trying to middle 6, or you're just trying to get off something, and then you can't quite get off of it, and you get that 2-point rush in middle. And I promise you, as soon as you're over 219 and under 217, that game is going to hit 218. I promise you it will, and you've lost both.
That's a good point. Yep. That's why I think when you want to get off of a bet, then just leave it alone.
Well, that's right.
Just leave it alone, and just don't add.
I'll get off of it. That's right. If I can get off of it on what I got on it for, and I feel, listen, I'm not feeling good about this at all, I will get in there and just get off of it. And then I definitely leave it alone, because if I start pushing too many numbers into one game, I've done it too much, and it's one of those things you kind of learn on the job, and you only, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I tell people all the time, I'm not. I'm the guys that have to put my hand on the stove 4 or 5 times before I realize it's hot. I'll tell myself, I can. It's okay. So that's a problem. That's a problem.
And that's fine. I think the smartest guys in the world are doing other things. I don't think they would have the intuition, the gut feels that we've developed over time. This NBA stuff reminds me of my days on Wall Street trading in the pit.
Yeah.
You want to sell into strength, buy into weakness. And the NBA has both weakness and strengths many, many times over in a game.
Oh my goodness. I will say this. I've been for, I would consider what happened to me a couple times so fortuitous that it was ridiculous. But yes, I have caught I've been on a game before where I caught a 10-point middle and thought I was going to leave it alone until they had another little spurt. And from my free flop, I got an 18-point middle and then a 20-point middle. And then at the end of the game, I look down and I've got, instead of having 2 or 3%, I've got almost 10% of my bankroll on that one that I might lose the 10-point middle. I'm not losing the 20-point middle. Once there's 3 minutes, 4 minutes to go in the game, I know where it's at, and we know it's going to happen. I mean, the one thing about the NBA is there's only a few teams, John, that play college-style late game. Typically in the NBA, listen, if they're down 6, they're going to take it down to 24 seconds to that shot clock. That's when they start fouling. In college, at 2 minutes to be left in the game, if they're down 10, they'll start fouling. Some teams start fouling with 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden you got 40 points in the last 3 minutes of a game.
Yep.
And you've destroyed your under, just different animals. Always fun, though. That's the fun part of what I enjoy about in-game more than anything. So.
But I think to sum it all up, you got to have a plan, and you can tell by listening to us that we have a plan before the game even starts.
Yeah, I have a plan, but I do. I always have a plan, but I'm also fairly flexible. If as long as it's not going to hurt me, and I'm breaking kind of some of my own little rules I have, as long as I do that, then I will veer off. If something becomes, if an opportunity presents itself, I'll take it, even though it's not part of my plan. And then I may just say, I'm done with this. I love it when you have 8 games or 10 games on the board. You have so many different places to look, and when you're chasing something, typically, you kind of get some. The blinkers are on, and your tunnel vision on that one game until you get to like you said, your plan, at least to some degree, starts coming into focus, and then it's time to. And we both know that in game 2 is have fast internet, and do not have cable don't watch on satellite television because you're going to be 8-10 seconds behind the action.
That's
so you're
right.
always behind the 8 ball against those against the books. Always.
That's another good piece of advice. I use MGM for the most part for in-game because you really can't shop blinds. I don't like paying minus 120, but you could. I've had ideas of getting 2 more phones and just setting them up in front of me, and that way I can, or 3 iPads.
Well, I was going to say I have the ability to put on my screens on my table on my desktops. I can put my phone. I can tap right into my phone, interface it right to one of my screens, so it's big, easy to see. On the other screens, I'll have the game, and I can instead of using my finger, which I hate to use because my big hands, I mess a number up or mess something up, where I won't do that on a keyboard.
Yep, that's right. You use the mouse.
Right.
Good point. Well, let's do our. Let's do it. I know you got stuff coming up. I do.
I got this NBA is kind of now. I thought we were all done with that, but then you forget that you get some NBA. Then we got a little college basketball.
It's this amazing time.
Hollywood holiday bowl game starting at Thanksgiving and on, and until the end of February or March is a pretty. Do you think the NBA is volatile? You should be in my household because. Katie, bar the door. Katie, bar the door. Don't ask me to do something, and you better get that dog out of my studio, out of my office, or it's the dog won't pay hell, but somebody who let it get in here is going to pay hell. So I got 2 of them now. We rescued another one, and we've got
good for you
here. Yeah, we got big dog, and we got a little. He's a good dog. He's a good boy, but he's a small. He's my wife. She likes that lap. He's not a Dachshund. What's a German? It's a German breed it's a burrower, and I don't know. I can't remember, but he's interesting. He looks like a Scottish hair. I don't know.
Dogs are great. I'm a big dog lover. 12 dogs in my life I've had.
Really?
12. Wow. Well, most of the time 2 at a time.
Right. Well, I'm not very good about the reason I haven't done that. I haven't done that in the past is I'm not very good when I lose them.
Oh, I'm horrible.
I don't handle it very well, and so it kind of it is what it is, but I just don't handle it very well. So
I don't think anybody does. I really don't. Essentially they're family members. When you really get down to it, they're family members. They just don't speak English, but they speak to you in so many other ways that are so meaningful.
Yeah, they bite me in my ass. I got that little puppy now that all he wants to do. He wants 24/7. Whenever he's awake, he just wants to play. Yeah.
When I go downstairs, Manny, the Red Fox Lab, will be wagging his tail, and he'll have the ball in front of him. And he just heard me say his name, and you probably heard him, kind of whine a little bit. But, it's routine. It's that time of the day where it's time for Dad to stop working, damn it, and let's go have some fun.
Well, unfortunately, my big Newfoundland size.
I had one of those.
Well, he's not a Newfoundland. He's a black-mouthed cur, but he's a long story short is he's the worst he's the worst playmate because he gets the ball, he won't give it to you. He'll bring it, he'll come up to you and he'll start to grab it, he jerks back and he starts kind of laughing at you, and he does that and it's like why are we doing this? You're the worst person in the whole world to play catch with. I tell him all the time, the worst. He doesn't listen.
Just get when there's leftover steak from the night before, just get it and cut it up into really small pieces, and he'll drop it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I can get him to drop it, but
or cheddar cheese.
He loves cheese, man. This dog but he's 120 or 30 pounds right now, and if I start giving him steak, I used to give him steak every night. Almost every night he would get steak, but I got him to the point where he's not a puppy anymore, so he doesn't metabolize like he did as a puppy, obviously. Right. So, and he's so big. Let me tell you right now that I'm concerned For a dog that big, if I let him get any more, and he's muscle bound, he's got that boxer. He's half boxer, right, John? So he's muscle bound. But the problem is he carries so much weight without knowing that it's hard on their knees, hard on their legs.
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah, I do.
Hard on me. I know when I've gained 5 pounds too much. The old man like me, I feel 5 pounds.
I have some great hiking trails within 5 to 7 minutes, and some nice, almost mountainous. And
that's good because my dog he gets no leash walks. When we walk at night, it's always at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, no leash. And
it's the best, isn't it?
Oh, he runs full blast for about up and down, and you can just tell that how much he looks forward to that. When it's time, he knows, and he's in my face, wagging that tail, saying, "Let's go, dude! It's time to go." Yeah, it's a good feeling too.
Yeah. So let's do our best bets for the show.
Let's do it.
And you can pick whatever you want. I actually put out a hockey play for my premium clients tonight.
You
First
did?
one of the year, $9 Monday.
I got the baseball game, right? So
yeah, that's gonna be a good game.
I think
that is. Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's so many storylines too. You have the back-to-back grand slams that never was done by the same teammates in the same game. There's never been two teammates at all, let alone back-to-back innings. And then, I can't remember his name. The guy that's on fire. He's 16 for 32, batting .500, 5 home runs for Red Sox.
I don't pay attention.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Here. But I know. Are you talking about? You're not talking about Verducci? Oh, I know.
Here, I will tell you real quick because I'm just. I think when you stay up, you said you stayed up all night. Sometimes you just like.
Oh, my memory your mind. Yeah, it's names are really becoming.
Hernandez.
Oh, yeah, Hernandez. Okay, yeah.
Solo home run. He has 5 now, which ties the franchise record for most home runs in a postseason.
Right.
And he's like a career 240 batter, and he's batting .500 in the.
Which is unusual right now.
How can you not love baseball? Just for those stories.
I do love baseball. In fact, the Dodgers are something we could have talked about in more time, and this was supposed to be. I went on 204 XMF 204 on Friday nights, as I always do with the sports jock Gabe Morency. And Gabe was defending Dave. He never defends Dave Roberts, but another story. But listen, they're down 2-0, and last year it was Atlanta, and it was in the CL, basically the CLS, right? But this is not a. I'm telling you right now, I got a feeling that Dave Roberts cannot win this many division titles. Since 2004, 8 or so. It's Bobby Cox all over again, where every year they win division, couldn't win World Series. I think they won 1.
Well, one quick question before because it is getting close to our show times for the next run. But LA's down 2-0. They have to go home and play 3 consecutive games at home: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
As good as they are, there's a very small percentage of teams that have won all 3 of them. Which means you go back to Atlanta having to win both games now.
Yes.
And, a buddy of mine said, the Dodgers for the series at plus 170, plus 180 has to look pretty darn good. And the more I thought about it, it actually doesn't look like it's enough.
No. Well, and if there's one team in baseball, it would be different, too. If they had Bauer and they had May and the guys that are injured right now, and Muncy, for that matter, as well, as far as the offense goes. They're the one team that can string some big crooked numbers up for 3 nights straight and pitch well enough to win 3 straight. However, that next 3 nights is really going to tax their pen. That's exactly right. And they got Fried going Thursday. So Dave Roberts only let they pitched Scherholzer on short rest, and I'll tell you his metrics on short rest are much different than they are on 5 days.
They sure are
on routine. And he threw him out there, for 71 pitches. If you're going to put him out there, and he was pitching okay. It wasn't great. He was missing some of his spots. However, then they had to use 4 or 5 of the bullpen guys. And Jansen didn't pitch as well. Hey, listen, Jansen cannot continue to do what he's done. There's definitely some negative regression. The
bats will catch up to him. I think this is. I agree with you. I mean, he's not going to end the season with a 0.5 ERA.
No,
let alone 0. They're gonna catch up to it, and that's another concern I have with the Dodgers. As much as I love that team.
Yeah. No, it is, and they're the worst situational handling team. See that game too. They left before they even got into the ninth. They'd already left 10 guys on.
Small village. I mean, it was.
I don't know who called it, but Taylor, who had already hit 2 balls the warning track, almost hit 2 out. He comes up. They really needed that runner from third base. They didn't play that game, but they needed him. And they asked Taylor to bunt. He had a sacrifice fly to the first baseman trying to bunt.
Right. I thought that was stupid too.
They're the worst situational team in baseball. Look at the metrics. They don't advance runners. They swing for the fences.
And they bunt to first baseman.
And they don't bunt at all very well. And I'm okay with a manager saying, listen, I don't like to give away outs. But then your guys need to be able to, hit to the right side to advance the runner from second to third. All those little things that they don't do in baseball much anymore. So.
The most powerful hit in baseball is man on first, right-handed batter, opposite field shot in the gap. You end up with first and third minimum. Then that
minimum.
Statistically,
you can end up at second and run if these guys if the first person is fast.
Yep,
that's right.
Or the first and third, I can statistically prove is the most stressful situation for a starting pitcher or any pitcher, especially first and third, nobody out. That's worse than bases loaded, nobody out, because if you don't have the bases loaded, you can almost see your way out of it. Yeah, the guy at third doesn't have to go if it's a grounder, and they roll 2.
If you have command and you do have a pitch that sinks, you can try to manipulate the hitter if you know the hitter well. You can bring your corners in and try to get him to go to third or first, depending on which side of the plate he's hit from. But that is stressful. It's exhausting to try to pitch that one. It's not just one. If there's no outs, not just one. How many pitchers do you know? How many times have you seen this? They get the first out, they get the second out, and then they relax so much. I got to and then all of a sudden, bam! They say all I need to do is get. They're not going to score. Run it out. Now,
they walk the 8 hitter. The pitcher, the pitcher somehow gets on, and then you have the top of the order, and bang.
Yep, it just happens. It's just human nature. It's what we do.
What do you have for?
Okay, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you 2 plays. I played. What was yours again?
So far, it's the Chicago Bulls over.
Okay, very good. I like that play, and I'm going to do this. Here's the deal. Erod, who's pitching for Baltimore or for Boston tonight, has not been first off, if you look at he's never been very good against this Houston lineup. If you look at his game, just look at his game log.
That's right.
And you'll see where he's got 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. And then all of a sudden Houston comes up and he's got 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. First off, Houston they don't strike out. They put the bat on the ball, and they know how to work pitchers and umpires and get walks. And they do that. And here's the deal. When they do that to an Erod, a fly ball pitcher that tries to nit and pick a little bit too much, he might get away with some of that tonight with Laz Diaz behind the plate. Laz has got a pretty big strike zone. However, it's not good business against Houston. And the last time these two last met, Boston and Houston last met May 31st, May 30th and 31st. Guess who the 2 starting pitchers were? Uribe?
The same 2.
And Erod.
Yeah.
And Erod wasn't good. In fact, the final score of the game was like 11-2, and Houston he walked 5, or it was just bad. And that's what they'll try to do tonight. They're going to try to do that. And as soon as Erod, the problem with Erod is his exit velocity. As soon as he tries to catch too much of the plate because he knows that's what they're doing, then they're going to hit the ball hard somewhere. So then you're dependent on batted ball luck, and for the most part, if you're hitting a line drive 100 miles an hour, then unless you're hitting it right at somebody, it's going to hit a hole. It's going to find a hole, and it's surely going to find the turf. And then Houston's off the races, and it's game, set, match. And I think it's pretty important because tomorrow it's really important for Boston to win and do what they can because I'm not a big did you see the pitching matchup for tomorrow? Did you see you didn't see who Boston had to pitch? Well, I'm not. Let's put it this way. I wouldn't trust. I wouldn't suggest that you put your money on. And it's not tomorrow. I take it back. It's Wednesday, but it's. Let me tell you right now. I'll pull it up right now instead of trying to think. For some reason I'm so tired. But
no, I think it is tomorrow. I think Boston plays 3 in a row at home themselves now, right?
Okay, so it's yeah, you're right. Well, it's Pivetta, Nick Pivetta, who is not his metrics are just they're catered to exactly what Houston likes or what they're most successful at with a pitcher. I mean, Pivetta's a guy who he's a 4.5 ERA if I remember right. 4.5 ERA. He will. Let me just pull him up. Long story short, is that he's got 155 innings pitched this year, 137 hits, and he does have 175 Ks. He does throw hard enough. The problem is if he's not commanding it, he's walking people, and when they do barrel him, it's the reason he has a 4.5 ERA.
Yep. And Zach Greinke, I guess, is going to be his counterpart.
Right. And listen, Greinke has not been good the second half of the season. He's not been good. We know what he can do. We know what he's going to sit out there and try to do. And the truth is, Pivetta has pretty good numbers against Houston hitters, but it's such a small sample size. It's one game essentially, 30 official at bats, so it's one game where he allowed 7 hits, 3 doubles, 1 triple,
homer,
and he struck out 11. So he's struck out essentially. That's 11 in a 9-inning frame, which will supplement and cover up some hard hit balls, and some walks. Yeah, but I like that. Hey. I like your rookie tonight at plus money, plus 102. If it's still there, but essentially I pick him as you said, and this is a guy who can strike out. This Boston team doesn't. They've struck out the first 2 games they had against Houston. Struck out 12 in the last game. Only struck out 6, I think, in the first one, which they only had 8 innings. I think they only batted 8 innings because they had the lead, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. Long story short is 3.5. I couldn't figure out why. You reckon he had only 3.5 as his over under for strikeouts? I said, well, he hasn't pitched since the 3rd of October, the final day of the regular season, 2 weeks. Okay? Are they going to limit him? Well, I got the information, the intel, they're not limiting him. That in fact, Dusty said he's not limited. He's gonna be there as long as he's efficient and pitching well. He's gonna be on the mound. So the last time they met, he struck out 9 in 6 innings. 0 for 3.5 at plus money, plus 125.
I like it.
Yeah.
So
it's not right though. You're supposed to back away. It just doesn't seem right to me. I expect to have 5.5 is what I expect to see. And then I see 3.5 at plus money. It's one of those deals where you think a line's going to be -7 and it's -3, and you have to kind of step back and find out why you're wrong. But I can't find any reason why.
I mean, kind of like what I said with the number 2 team in the country, Iowa, being favored by only 11.5.
That's right. Well, yeah.
Boy,
should have been an underdog. I wrote something. John, I got to go, but I was just thinking about this. Oh yeah, I'm a little late now, but I wrote a little bit in my write-up tonight. One of the write-ups I wrote for football, and it's a long one. But when he got between the podium, and then he started. Not only he just feels so that guy's he gets really. He's not very good with the press. He gets arrogant, and what he did when he started throwing Penn State, their players, under the bus saying that they were faking those injuries.
Classless.
What happened is, you see what
I'll
happened
say it
this
for
weekend.
you.
I'll tell you right now, what he forgot to do and what he should have done was said, listen, Penn State, great team. We got fortunate. We won. It's on to the next game, because and Iowa City, they let Purdue come in, and they had a bracket locked up as long as they could win that Big Ten. Let's put it this way. They had a chance that they will never, he as a coach, won't have again.
Never have, right.
Or these players will ever have again. And what did he do? He got cocky, and those things. It's just one thing leads to another, and it's as you know, it snowballs, dominoes, and what he should have said was, listen, man, coaches, players, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. You're not going to have it again. You're not. If we lose it, we lose it. You know, if we've given 100%, but we both knew that they had a really good chance of screwing this up because of who they were on the field. Okay, what he did was he should have thanked everybody, the players, the coaches, the wives, and everyone else in the Big Ten that collectively they do their part to make it possible for one team to have this opportunity. It was him. It was his players, and he screwed it up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it reminds me of that book when I was taking night courses for the master's degree called In Search of Excellence by Tom Peters. We're talking 1988, I think. Yeah. The character of an organization takes on the character of its leader.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Sums it up, man.
That's why, yeah. I don't.
And you can't blame the kids.
No, absolutely not. No, in fact, no. No, you can't. And now we don't know the whole story, the whole picture. I don't know what happened to that game because I only had bits and pieces of it. I didn't have to see it. Once I saw the score, once I saw it, we knew they weren't going to cover. I thought maybe they might find the fortitude to win, and they couldn't do that. Okay, yep. Johnny, listen, always good to be with you.
Yeah, man.
Have a good evening.
I'll see you later. I'll talk to you later tonight. I'll see you tomorrow with some of the other crew for 4 o'clock. And as always, may all the wins be everyone's.
Yes, take them.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Are we going? Still?
I